What is the shortest teaching the Buddha ever gave? 25 centuries ago, on the western coast of India, near the harbor town of Suppa, a merchant ship broke on the rocks in a storm. One man swam to shore alive. He had nothing. He covered himself in tree bark, and the people who found him on the beach mistook him for a holy one. His name was Bāhiya. This story is preserved in the 10th discourse of the first chapter of the Udāna, the inspired utterances of the Buddha, with the commentary by Buddhaghosa on the 101st verse of the Dhammapada. It is one of the strangest stories in the canon, because the teaching the Buddha gave, when he finally gave it, was perhaps the shortest he ever gave to anyone. And because the man who heard it had crossed more than 1,000 miles in a single night to hear it. To understand what the Buddha said in the road, you have to understand what made a man run 1,000 miles to find him. Bāhiya had been a merchant. He had taken passage on a ship up the western coast with goods to sell in the northern markets. The storm came at night. The wind turned against the coast. The ship struck the rocks. The hull broke. Some of the men swam. Some did not. Bāhiya was strong. He swam. He came out of the water on a stretch of sand near Suppa, alive with nothing. The clothes he had worn were torn from him by the rocks. The goods he had carried were on the bottom of the sea. He stood on the beach in the cold dawn, naked. He went up into the trees at the edge of the shore. He stripped bark from the smaller trunks. He wrapped himself in it. The bark was rough. It scratched at the skin where it was tied, but it covered him. This is how the people of Suppa found him. The first to find him was a fisherman gathering his nets in the morning. He saw a figure sitting at the tree line, wrapped in bark, very still. He thought at first it was a holy man, one of the wandering ascetics who sat in the forests and at the cremation grounds eating once a day, sleeping where they sat. The fisherman set down his nets and he came up the beach and he bowed. He said, "Honored sir, may I bring you food?" Bāhiya was tired. He was cold. The bark was tight at his ribs. He nodded. The fisherman went home and told his wife. By the afternoon, the village knew. They brought him food. They brought him cloth, better cloth than the bark. But he would not take it, because the bark was what they had seen him in first, and he did not want to break the picture they had of him. They brought him their children to bless. A woman came with her sick mother and asked him to lay his hand on the old woman's forehead. He did not know what to do. He laid his hand. The old woman closed her eyes and was quiet, and the woman went home weeping with gratitude. They brought him food. They brought him cloth. They brought him their children to bless. 7 days passed. By the 7th day, when he was alone in his small lean-to at the tree line, with the offerings stacked around him, Bāhiya thought perhaps the village was right. Perhaps he was the holy one they were calling him. On the 7th night, when the moon had set and the village was quiet, a light came into his hut. Bāhiya woke. There was a figure at the doorway. He could not see the face. There was light at the edges of the cloth, and the small sound of fabric brushing the doorframe, and the air had changed in the hut as it changes when something has come in from a great distance. The figure spoke quietly. Bāhiya, you are not what they think you are. You are not an arahant. You are not on the path that leads to one. There is a man in the city of Savatthi who is. Go to him. Bāhiya knelt. He asked, "Who are you?" The figure said, "Once, long ago, you and I walked the same path." I went on. "You did not. Go now." The light moved back through the doorway. The hut was dark again. The air settled. Bāhiya did not sleep. By morning, he was on the road. He walked at first. He walked the road north out of Suppa, the harbor at his back, the morning sun on his right shoulder. Suppa behind him. By midday, he was running. The road bent inland, away from the coast. The trees thickened. The dust rose under his feet. He did not stop for water. He did not stop for the villages along the road, where people stood at their doorways and watched a man in bark cloth pass without slowing. He came to the kingdom of Avanti, the great kingdom of the south, and crossed it. Avanti behind him. He came to the Vindhya range, the range that divides the south of India from the north, and crossed it. The road climbed and turned and climbed again. He climbed. The Vindhyas behind him. He came to the Yamuna, the great river of the north, and crossed at a ford in the dark, with the water at his waist, and came up on the far bank still running. The Yamuna behind him. The canon says he crossed the distance in a single night, from the western coast to the city of Savatthi, more than 1,000 miles, a journey of weeks for a caravan, of days for a strong man on a fast horse, of one night for a man who had been told where the answer was, and who would not stop until he had asked it. By dawn, he was at the gate of Savatthi. By dawn, he was at the wall of Jetavana, where the Buddha had been staying. He had not slept. He had not eaten. The bark at his ribs was wet with sweat and worn through in places. He had arrived. At the gate of Jetavana, the monks were beginning their morning. Bāhiya came up the path in the dawn light, breathing hard, and asked, "Where is the Tathagata?" A monk looked up from his bowl. He looked at the bark, the sweat, the trembling hands. He said, "He has gone into the city. He is on alms round. He will return in the late morning. Sit. We will bring you water. Bathe. Eat. Wait for him here." Bāhiya did not sit. He turned and he ran back through the gate, and he ran into the city. He did not know which lane the Tathagata was walking. He had only the certainty that the man was in the city and that the morning was not yet over. He found him in a quiet lane in the eastern part of the city, a monk in saffron, walking at his ordinary pace, with a bowl held quietly in front of him. The other monks of the almas round walked behind. Bāhiya knew, without being told, who he was looking at. He came down the lane at a run, and he fell at the Buddha's feet on the dust of the lane. He said, "Honored sir, teach me the truth before one of us dies." The Buddha looked at him. He said, "It is not the time, Bāhiya. We are walking for alms." Bāhiya did not get up. "Honored sir, life is uncertain, death is certain. I do not know when you will die. I do not know when I will die. Teach me now." The Buddha looked at him again. He said again, "It is not the time, Bāhiya. We are walking for alms." Bāhiya did not get up. The third time, "Honored sir, life is uncertain, death is certain. Teach me before one of us is gone." The street was quiet. The other monks had stopped behind the Buddha. The morning sun was at the east end of the lane. The Buddha looked at the man at his feet, and then he set down his bowl, and he stood in the lane. And the Buddha said, "Then Bāhiya, this is how you should train yourself. In the seen, there will be only the seen. In the heard, only the heard. In the sensed, only the sensed. In the cognized, only the cognized. When for you there is only the seen in the seen, only the heard in the heard, only the sensed in the sensed, only the cognized in the cognized, then there is no you in connection with that. When there is no you in connection with that, there is no you there. When there is no you there, you are neither here, nor there, nor between the two. This Bāhiya, just this, is the end of suffering." He did not say it twice. He did not explain it. He did not look down to see what had become of the man at his feet. He picked up his bowl. He continued the alms round. Bāhiya stayed where he was, kneeling in the dust of the lane. The teaching he had heard was already inside him. He had heard it once. He had not been told to repeat it. He had not been told to remember it. He had only been told the shape of how to train. In the scene, only the scene. He saw the lane. He saw the morning sun on the wall opposite. He saw the dust at his knees, and the print of the bowl where it had stood, and the place on the ground where the Buddha's foot had pressed. There was no one inside him who was seeing them. There was only the seeing. He stood up. The street continued around him. A woman went by with a basket. A child ran past after her. The morning was the morning. Bāhiya was no longer there, in the way he had been there before. Later that morning, walking on through the city, Bāhiya turned a corner into a narrow lane. A cow had come into the lane from the other direction. She had a calf at her flank. The calf was new, perhaps a week old, and the cow was nervous, the way cows are nervous of strangers when their calves are new. Bāhiya did not see her in time. The lane was narrow. The cow lowered her head. She came at him. Bāhiya did not move out of the way. She gored him in the side. He went down on the stones of the lane. The cow stood over him for a moment with her calf pressed against her flank. Then she turned, and she went back the way she had come. Bāhiya lay where he had fallen. The dust of the alms round was still in his robe. The teaching was still in him. He stopped breathing. In the late morning, the Buddha returned with the other monks from the alms round. They came to the lane. They saw the body. The Buddha said quietly, "Cremate him here. Build a small stupa over the place." The monks did as he asked. They gathered wood. They laid the body. The fire took. When the fire had burned low and the bones had been gathered, and the small stupa had been built at the place where Bāhiya had fallen, one of the monks asked the Buddha, "Honored sir, where has he gone? Where will he be reborn?" The Buddha looked at the small stupa. He said, "He will not be reborn. He has come to the end." He did not say more. The monks stood for a moment in the lane. Then they walked back to Jayatavana. Later, among those who had come to him quickest and gone furthest in the shortest time, the Buddha named Bāhiya the foremost. A merchant, whose ship had broken, who ran 1,000 miles to kneel in the dust of a road, until in the scene there was only the scene, and no one in him to see it.